Hello, friends. It's Natasha from the Cozy Cushion, your friendly, intuitive empath with psychic ability. I come here each week and do a video about spiritual strength and some things that I feel may help people live a better, stronger, and more fulfilling life. I am a motivational speaker and card reader, as well as I also like to sit down and do mediumship readings with people. So if you're interested in those sort of things, you can reach out to me through my Facebook page at The Cozy Cushion. Also, if you would like to reach out to me for a reading, you can also email me at thecozycushion@gmail.com. TheCozycushion@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, friends. It truly means a lot to me. Each week, I like showing up here at the Cozy Cushion because I have this dream inside my heart that someday I'll be able to open a facility where I can facilitate spiritual strength training and growth and healing for people that may need it. Most people need healing in some way, whether it's with their physical body, their health, their heart health, their spiritual health, sometimes their spiritual belief systems and understandings of their purpose in life. I see people struggle with this quite frequently when I coach people, and when people are struggling, they find it very difficult to take care of themselves. So I love coming here to the Cozy Cushion and being a strong advocate for self-love and self-care. I really like to talk a lot about forgiveness and treating ourselves like we would treat a best friend, or how we would want to be ideally treated by somebody else. Oftentimes we forget that we can treat ourselves like our own best friend, that our body's not the enemy, that everything and everybody's not out to get us. I find people get stuck often in their patterns, either of those belief system patterns of negative self-talk, which is one of the most harmful, soul-sucking, energy-draining things that can happen to us, is excessive thoughts in our mind and loops of thoughts that no longer serve us. Like, a lot of women and people in today's world, I take away that word woman, because it's just a lot of humans in today's world are suffering from feeling as though they are too heavy, they're too fat, and they really struggle with how to help themselves. And ironically enough, from my experience as a personal trainer, oftentimes it's those belief systems in our mind telling ourselves day after day after day loops of thoughts that no longer serve us. Like, I am fat, I'm too big, I'm only getting bigger. Every time I get on the scale, I weigh more. And that puts us in this fear mindset. We fear gaining more weight, and we put ourselves almost in a paralyzing state of not knowing how to change that, and we feel like it's too heavy and it's too much, and we feel like we've taken so much time to recognize that we were having a problem that's oftentimes, in my opinion, a spiritual problem, not a weight problem. a spiritual problem. The physical symptoms of that often are very challenging, and that's where I come to wanting to talk a little bit of the dark night of the soul, which is a spiritual experience many of us humans, most of us, I believe, go through within our lifetimes. And sometimes we go through that more than once. So for me, my dark night of the soul happened when I was a young mom. I had I had to grow up too quickly, so I had some very bad patterns and very bad belief system about my capacity to make decisions in my life and who would make those decisions for me. And so with the dark night of the soul, I was about 17 when I had my first son, and my dark night of the soul came between 18 and 25. So it was a long period of time that this experience of life being hard and sad, and things were always happening to me and against me, and I couldn't get ahead. My car would break, my rent was due, my, you know, me and my son's father, we didn't work out so well in the end, and we had to share him, which was devastating in so many ways to both myself and his father. And so my dark night of the soul was composed of all these things that cause physical symptoms of anxiety, indifference, depression, and addiction. So, how that showed up in my life and what it looked like to some of my family and friends, I like to party. I have a very excited personality, and I love people. I love being with people. I love sharing stories and ideas, and I love to dance, and I love to have fun. So, how my dark night of the soul was appearing to the outside world, looking back on it now, was I was drinking a lot, I was smoking a lot of weed, I was having a lot of fun, I was going out and having parties and holding parties at my apartment and having fun. But what's really happening was I wasn't taking good care of myself. I wasn't eating well. I was always into fitness, which is kind of funny. So even though I was drinking a lot of alcohol, I was smoking a lot of weed, I didn't eat very well at all. I love caffeine from a very young age, so I've always been a coffee drinker. When I was younger, I never drank water either, so I was also frequently very dehydrated. And so during the dark night of my soul was really all about my anxiety and my depression being worsened and fueled by my perceived experience in life, and often sometimes my very real experience, because during that time of my dark night of the soul, I also had a lot of friends, I had a lot of love, I had a lot of support, and I was so fortunate to have that. And in some aspects, I look back on that and I think how important it was for me and my friends and family to be there for one another. That was one of the ancestral traits that my family cultivated for me, even though I came from a divorced family. My mother and father worked very hard to be friends, stay involved as best they could in mine and my sister's life, as well as their own lives and our families. So even though we didn't, there were struggles and stuff that happened, but at the same time, that was a very beautiful experience, and I'm so glad that I had in life that friendship, that family unity, that really caring about what's happening to people. So my depression and dark night of the soul used to represent itself to my friends sometimes gathering around me and having a party or drinking or having a little puff, what have you. Why, I would be laying on the floor in a pile of blankets and pillows, and I would sleep a lot because I would drink a lot and I would do a lot of drugs as well. So I was just in this very constant state of self medicating my pain. And the more I was self medicating my pain, the more I was spiraling myself into depletion of life force. Through diet, I wasn't eating well, I wasn't sleeping well, everything was varied. I didn't have good habits, and so so it would represent itself in what I would do, as I call nesting. So I would basically party and have fun. At this time, back then during my dark night of the soul, I didn't really have a job. I was on welfare raising my son in a very important relationship to me. And I was emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually completely out of control. And like I say, I had good support, but I had some very intense bad habits. So once my body couldn't take the party and the go, go, go anymore, it would just crash into a nest of not so goodness. Oftentimes I was physically sick. My heart would be sick. It would be pounding all the time. It just really wasn't a good state of being. And that spiral got really intense. And oftentimes, throughout those that time frame of 17 to 26 for me, it would get really, really bad, and it would get better. So I also love deeply talking to specifically the people that struggle from these things. And if you're going through anything that you feel I might be talking about right now, I want you and I need you to know that it gets so much better. It really does. You do get through it. It teaches you a lot about the strength of your true human spirit and who you truly are. And I know that there's people out there that are a variety of ages that still don't know their purpose in life. And I'm here to confirm that everybody has a purpose. We all have a reason for being here, and they're all valid. And they're all for love. That's the easiest way to sum it up. We're all here for love. To love ourselves first, and to love others, our community, our province, our state, and so on. The ripple effect, our universe. I am a complete lover of the universe, and I watch the stars. Each night I gaze at the stars. The moon means so much to me because I'm a white witch. So I really love that moon energy, and it really helped me during my dark night of the soul to have those deep roots of community and support and help and habits of moving with the rhythm of nature. So I'm a nature lover, I'm an animal lover. So I've been very fortunate to be able to draw in animal energy when I need it most often by my companions, my cats, my dogs, my guinea pigs, my pony, whatever it may have been over the years or at that time. And some of you may know Jerry, which is my duck, which is one of the greatest familiars I've ever had. That's what I refer to him as, one of my dear friends. I talk to Jerry about things that I think he might relate with, and he's got a really good personality. And so that's what's helped me with my dark night of the soul. So the first thing that helped me most during that time, which is a spiritual crisis, friends, that's when people accidentally take their lives, is dark night of the soul. They get so stuck and so weighted down in the sand and muck of life that they are in such immense suffering at times, they do not see a way out. And I just want to confirm for all of us that there is always a way through. And once you're on the other side, you literally feel like you've gotten out of something big. So to survive a dark night of the soul for all of us, it's kind of like a badge of honor. For instance, when I survived my dark night of the soul, I got this tattoo. It's a dragonfly, and it says know yourself, because it was during that dark night of the soul that I got to know myself. I got to know my strengths, and most importantly, all my weaknesses, every last one of them. There's a lot of learning in life as humans, and sometimes we just need a friend that spiritually understands with their heart that when we go through things, it's very hard to talk to people about them, and it's so personal and so deep that we're just in such a deep state of processing that life can become a challenge. And that's why I want to create the Cozy Cushion. Is it's a sacred space where you can come and talk to me, whether it's through a reading, whether it's through a coaching meeting, or what have you. I also have Zoom meetings as well. Um, so with the Dark Night of the Soul, I just want you to know that we all have these heart centered patterns within our bodies and our beings that are really good for us. And I call it the knowing. The knowing in our heart that we're to be, do, have certain things. Inside my heart, I know I'm born to teach people how to be fit, strong. I was a personal trainer for a lot of years. I was a yoga teacher. I'm a breath instructor. I teach people how to breathe, how to become strong mentally, physically, and spiritually, and most importantly, how to move their body into healing on their own. Because we all have this knowing within inside of us of what we need, and we all need different things. I've learned I need to be a farmer. I need to have my chickens and my little barn and my animals around me. I have 3 fish tanks. I have a betta and I have 2 tanks of goldfish. I have Jerry, my duck, my dogs, Ben and little Sophie, and my cat Lucy, which is my greatest critic. Lucy and I, we oftentimes don't see eye to eye, and she doesn't favor me. So she's just here to judge me, basically. Um, so she's a good friend. So if you're going through a dark night of the soul, I encourage you, if you're an animal person, to get yourself a friend that you can be accountable to and accountable for. And it builds up spiritual strength, because when we do things for others, we're actually strengthening ourselves. So that's the most important lesson of the Dark Night of the Soul experience that I had. I became so sick and tired and sick of myself and my life, my decisions, my behaviors, that I changed everything. I changed where I live. I changed who I had in my life. I changed my behavior, thank God, to be more safe. When I was experiencing addiction, I really lived in a very unsafe environment, and I put myself in a lot of unsafe situations. And honestly, at that time, my mindset thought that was fun. And it's only with maturity and spiritual growth and spiritual strength, as I've moved through the dark night of the soul, been able to see that as a cry out for understanding, love, and a purpose. Most importantly, the whole reason I believe I went through my dark night of the soul is because I knew I had a purpose, which was mediumship. I've known that since I was born, and my 2 little feet hit the ground. I just knew that. I knew I was magical. I knew I was a healer, and I knew that crystals and rocks held spiritual energy for me to do my sacred medicine and sacred work here on earth. And then as I grew, I realized people in the world didn't reflect the things that they said and did. And I also seen that they didn't see what I seen. They didn't understand what I understood. They used to say things that would completely contradict things that I knew. So, for instance, when I was a little girl, I was born and raised on a farm. So, I had very strong imagination. I was also psychic and I was also a medium. And from an early age, before I could communicate, I communicated with the spirit world, the animals in our world, as well as the human beings in our world. And so when I was born, I knew that strength. My dad had dogs. We had a family farm of cows. We had a pig and a draft horse. My great grandfather also had a draft horse. And from an early age, I knew I could clearly communicate with them without saying a word. And I would also see contradictions of things, not so much in animals, but in people and their treatment and their behavior of people. And over a period of time, that became a heavy weight on me. And when you see things that other people don't see, sometimes too, I also experience premonitions now and again, which means I know things before they're going to happen. Oftentimes they're not clear. So when you know things are going to happen, and when I was younger, I would try to prevent them. That brought me so much pain, so much contradiction. As an intuitive empath, it suffocated me completely. And the only way I could kind of survive that is to pretend it didn't exist and try to stop it from happening. And honestly, now that I'm here, you can't stop your natural gifts. You can't stop your personal growth because it's uncomfortable. That's what I learned to be true for me, is that the uncomfortability of life, that's why I want to call my business the Cozy Cushion. Because honestly, friends, we can be cozy in among our shit show. We can find solstice in sacred space, and we can find comfort in friendship and love. And that doesn't have to come from our existing friends and family. I believe that sacred spaces, like churches and schools and fitness facilities and anywhere where good hearts gather, really hold the potential for people to find a sense of community. And that's what the Cozy Cushion is all about. So my little tiny office here in Nova Scotia, Canada, is my space, my sacred space that I offer you for now. And I just hope that if you are going through a dark night of the soul and you don't know who to turn to, please reach out to me through either my Facebook page. You can leave me a comment actually below in my YouTube as well. Please subscribe. I appreciate every subscriber I get because that helps me stay here and grow and experience all the things that we can change within each other, because I'm also growing here, and I believe my purpose is to help as many people as I can build spiritual and physical strength to live a good, healthy, happy, and harmonious life. And I love talking about that. So I'm also a motivational speaker for those who have listened to this whole video. So thank you for tuning in this long. If you want to hire me